Welcome to Simply Sewing with Laura. Today, let's talk about the tools of the trade that we need to do some sewing and some quilting. Besides the sewing machine, thread, iron, and ironing board, there are a lot of little tools that are helpful for sewing and quilting. With your machine, you would have received some feet, some bobbins, and some other accessories, and every machine would have different accessories. And most times they'll have some kind of a case to put them in. So if we do have a case, it's going to help out with storing. We do need more tools than what did come with the machine. Some of the things you might have received with your machine would be a little brush. Now this brush is to keep your machine clean. A seam ripper is another thing that might have come with your machine. You would have received spool caps and some kind of a foam disc and a tool. The tool could be something like this, or it could be a screwdriver. And that's going to help you maintain your machine. And of course, your feet. So other than these, there are definitely some other tools that are going to be very helpful. The first one will be needles. Now my machine did come with a package of universal needles, and that's probably the best package to start with. You can get a package of universal needles, and they have a variety of sizes on them. And then depending on the fabric you're going to use, you can pick up the needles as you pick up your fabric. If your machine comes with an automatic needle threader, that's great. But if not, you can pick up a needle threader. And this is designed to help thread the sewing machine needles. The next thing would be straight pins. Now straight pins come in all different sizes, shapes, and types. For general sewing, I like these big flat head flower pins. I like it that they're flat so they don't get in my way and they have nice long points. And with those, I do like to have a couple of safety pins. Most of my sewing, I'm going to be using the straight pins, but sometimes if I need to hem a pair of pants or I need to try a garment on, you really get stabbed with these, so it's kind of nice not to get stabbed. So I'll use these instead. And as much as we don't want to admit it, we all eventually are going to need a seam ripper. The seam ripper has a tiny little knife at the end, so it's important that you buy a good one right at the beginning. If it's at all has any burrs on it, it's just going to rip your fabric instead of cutting the threads. You're also going to need a measuring tape. A standard tape is 60 inches. But you can also get some really long ones at 120 inches. Either one will work fine. We're also going to need some hand sewing needles. Hand sewing needles are very much like sewing machine needles. They need to be good. If they're not smooth, they're going to have little burrs in them, and the eyes are not nice and smooth. They're going to rip the thread. So buy a good package and they're going to last you for years. Another thing with the needles, and this is optional, is wax. This is beeswax, and it's in a little plastic container. This is used to wax thread, and having your thread waxed makes it easier to sew with because it helps prevent tangles. And sometimes we do need a needle threader. This is just a little piece of wire to help thread the needles. If your machine comes with oil, that's great. If not, pick up a container of sewing machine oil. It is important that you use oil that is designed for sewing machines. It's a very fine oil. It has no water in it and it doesn't get gummy with age. So it's important that you only use sewing machine oil on your machine. The sewing machine oil also works good for cleaning things when you are in the sewing room. Another thing that I like to use with sewing is a glue stick. Whatever glue stick you get, make sure that it's washable. And most of them are. For example, this is just a kid's glue stick. And when it's washed, the glue will come out of the wash. You can get glue sticks that are also designed for fabric. They have a thinner point and they're a finer glue, but they also wash out. This is a great glue stick because it has a fluorescent color so I can see exactly where I put the glue. It also comes with refills. There's a lot of different things that you can get to mark your fabric. The first thing that I always keep handy is just a regular mechanical pencil. By having a mechanical pencil, I don't have to worry about sharpening it. I also like to have a pencil that marks on fabric, and this is designed more for quilting. And you can get a white lead or a dark lead, and it rubs off the fabric very easily. So I have the dark and my light. A marker that disappears for fabric is very handy. This one has two ends on it. One end will wash out just with a little spritz of water, or we can just rub it with water and the mark will disappear. The other end, the marks disappear over a couple of days, and it's also washable. The other thing that I use for marking is a bar of soap. This is just regular hand soap, and I've shaved off the edges. So one edge is a little bit thick, the other edge is really, really thin. This marks on all fabrics but white. And what's great about it, I know those markings are going to come out in the wash. For pattern marking, you get a tracing wheel. And this works with a tracing paper. You would put the tracing paper between your pattern and your fabric and just roll this, and it transfers the marks onto the fabric. I also have an eraser. Now this eraser I can use for my pencils, but I also use it to remove threads, and we'll cover this as we go through. The other thing that I use all the time is a permanent black marker. This is a marker that's designed for fabric, and it's archive safe, so over time the ink is not going to deteriorate the fabric. I use a point turner all the time. There are many different styles that you can get. This particular one has a nice point, but it's not too pointy to poke through my fabric. I also use the edge to iron fabric. It's called thumb pressing or finger pressing. You use no heat. It's great for little seams on the go. A seam gauge is another thing that is really important, and these are very inexpensive. They'll cost somewhere around $1. It has a little end that slides back and forth. You're going to be able to set that so it reminds you of the size you had. You can also use that as a marker. This is a great little ruler. You'll find that you use this all the time. And if you happen to have a nice small ruler, it's also handy to have. An optional tool is a stiletto. A stiletto is a long tool with a little sharp point on the end, and that helps you guide fabric into your sewing machine. Another optional thing is a pair of tweezers. This has a sharp little point on the end, and I like the length because sometimes I need to get in and pull out a thread inside of my machine, and it just helps keep my machine clean of threads. And of course, we need scissors. The first pair of scissors you're going to need is a good pair of scissors to cut your fabric. This is one time that I would recommend buying a really good pair right off at the beginning. There is nothing worse than trying to cut fabric where the scissors are just chewing up the fabric. And when you get a good pair, use them only for fabric. If you use them for paper or other things, it dulls the blade. Sometimes you can even get them with a case to cover that point. And because these are only used for fabric, we need a pair of scissors that we can use for general things. A pair of small scissors or snips are really handy. Having them with a nice sharp point will help you get into little corners. And they're handy to have at a sewing machine so that you can trim threads right at the sewing machine. There are two more things that I use that are very unconventional for a sewing machine. Number one, it's a paintbrush and a toothbrush. This paintbrush I use to clean the inside of my machine. When the bobbin comes out, I'm able to use this brush and I brush out the lint. It's important that you don't blow the lint into the machine, that you pull the lint out. And the lint sticks onto the end of the paintbrush, and I can just fling it out. It's also great just for dusting around the sewing machine and keeping the sewing machine area free of dust, so it's sort of like a big duster. And the toothbrush I use to clean the teeth of my sewing machine. For the bare essentials, what we need to start with are our scissors, our good fabric scissors, and an extra pair of paper scissors so you're not tempted to use these. A seam guide, point turner, tape measure, something to mark with, of course the needle, bobbin, and your feet for the machine, oil and a brush to keep your machine clean with, the seam ripper, straight pins, and hand sewing needles. There are more tools that you can get. They're designed more for quilting, but they can be used also for regular craft and garment sewing. And the first thing are rotary cutters. The blades are very, very sharp and they cut through layers of fabric very easily. You can get many different sizes and from many different companies. If you've never used one, I would recommend going to a quilt shop and asking them if they could show you how to use the one that they are using to cut their fabric. It will give you an idea if you like that style that they're using, or maybe they can have another one that can be recommended. In order to use these, you're going to need mats and rulers. And mats come in all different sizes. There are some that are reversible and they're nice and thick so that you can use both sides. Some are more portable and some you can get really, really big. The size of the mat is a personal thing. I like the small mats for smaller projects and big mats for bigger projects. And you will need rulers, and the rotary cutter goes along that ruler. So you need the mat, the ruler, and the cutter. You can get many, many different rulers. There are two that I would recommend for you to start with. A 12.5-inch square. A lot of popular patterns have blocks at 8 inches and 12 inches, but you need that extra ½ inch for a seam allowance. So you're going to be able to get your 8.5 from this and your 12.5-inch from your 12.5-inch square ruler. The other ruler I would recommend is a long ruler. Now this one is 23 inches by 8.5 inches. That extra ½ inch I find is very handy for squaring up my blocks. There are so many different notions and tools that we can get for sewing and quilting, and we're going to be able to build those tools up as we go along. This is a good start on some of the tools that you're going to need. Thank you for joining me today on Simply Sewing. Feel free to subscribe, and as always, come on back. Let's see what we're sewing next time in the sewing room. Bye for now.